All right, greetings everyone and welcome to another session of Bayyinah and Friends. Today is Thursday, November 12th. The year is 2020, the year of clear vision. And today we have another very special episode of Bayyinah and Friends. We have a very special guest that is out of Florida doing fantastic work. And we're going to get to know a little bit about her and her works during this webinar session. So I believe that our Empress is here and ready to go. So I'm going to hand it over to our host, Professor Bayyinah Bello.
Thank you, Franz. Thank you, everyone, for being present one more time. Welcome, welcome. It's always a pleasure to gather together, for the family to be together so we can share knowledge that will make us grow, knowledge that will awaken the divine in us, knowledge that can bring us to our better self, to our higher self. So today we will do as we usually do. We'll start with our breathing exercise. As we all know, breathing is key to life. It's the most important thing that our body has to do. But we leave it too much to the body. We need to get involved too, to be more aware. Because as we get into our breathing, we also increase our consciousness. So let us now consciously take 7 deep breaths together. Sit up straight, feet flat on the floor, hands on your knees, and we're going to concentrate on power today. As we breathe in, we increase our own power, and as we breathe out, we increase the power of those like us around us. So we all about power today. Let's go. Breathe in, 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 hold. Breathe out, 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 relax. Breathe in, 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 hold. Breathe out, 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 relax. Breathe in, 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 hold. Breathe out, 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 relax. Breathe in, 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 hold. Breathe out, 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 relax. Breathe in, 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 hold. Breathe out, 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 relax. Breathe in, 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 hold. Breathe out, 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 relax. Power is our word today. And that's the word that I could use when last Saturday, I witnessed the work of Sister Cheryl Irvin with the children. I was absolutely mesmerized on any subject, whether they were 4 and 5 and 7 and 10. These children were into knowledge. They were not reciting. They were not talking. They were talking, doing their own thing, saying what they believe in. And I was absolutely mesmerized and looking at the school itself, the whole concept of that school, the garden, and their ability to tell you why they need to do this. I was very, very impressed. So we're not going to have them wait much longer. I'm sure they've been ready for a long time because I saw them. That's the kind of people they are. So we're going to go directly to Sister Cheryl and let her share with us what she has prepared for Bayyinah and Friends today.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, you see that we do have the children here with us for a short time, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. They want to introduce themselves to you. But before doing that, we have to greet everyone. Waze? Sawa.
Shikamo.
Katrini. So the word waze simply means elders. There are elders present, and they stood to greet you. The word shikamo means I respect you. Katrini, I just told them to sit down. So the words that we use in this space for many of our instructions are in Swahili. We feel that that is important that the children hear, see, feel their own culture as it is to be remembered by us, because we are all in the process of remembering, so that they know that it is important, that they know that it's foundational to who they are and to who we are as a people. So Shikamo simply means I respect you, and Marahaba, young ones, that means I see you, I accept your respect. So my name is Cheryl Irvin, and I am the founder and the director of the new Alkebulan Education Center. We are located here in Lauderhill, Florida. Some of you who may have known us, we had a location also previously in Plantation, Florida, but we have been in Broward County since our first program in 2013. We are an African-centered, project-based school. African-centered simply means that they learn conventional academics, but they do so from a perspective that puts them, themselves, our history, and our culture central to what they are learning. Project-based also means that they build things, they make things. It is so that their education is grounded in reality. So then, as a teacher, I never wanted to hear the question, why do I have to learn this? That was my biggest pet peeve. Why do I have to learn this? And so we actually make things with the information that we learn so that they can know that learning is applied. Education is applied. Knowledge is applied and used like a tool. A hammer is no good on the ground. It's not going to use itself. The same thing with knowledge. You can use it, you can wield it, you can build with it, you can protect yourself with it. That's how we see education here, as being applied knowledge. So everything that they learn, they also use to create. I want to introduce you to the students behind me, or actually they're going to introduce themselves. So if you can stand up, tell everybody your name, how old you are.
Habari jina langu ni, my name is Raja and I'm 4 years old.
Thank you.
Habari jina langu ni Kayla and I'm 10 years old. Habari jina langu ni Zion and I am 8 years old.
Thank you.
Habari jina langu ni Amir and I'm 7 years old.
Thank you.
Habari jina langu ni Kamal, I'm 10 years old. Habari jina langu ni Nazayan, I am 10 years old.
Beautiful.
Jina langu ni simply means my name is. That's also in Swahili. So that's who we are. As a school, we are a private, independent, African-centered, project-based school here in Lauderhill, Florida, that goes from kindergarten to 8th grade, and it focuses on identity and creating. Our motto at the school is creating creators. That's what we do. We create creators with what they learn and also the things that they construct. So Franz was telling us that you generally open up the show with a poem, and he sent us the poem. And I've asked Raja to read it for us. Would you mind reading us the poem, Raja? Come on. Here you go.
Our first mistake.
Okay. So you have to start with the title, and you have to read it loud enough for them to hear you.
Freedom.
They can't hear you. They're all the way over there in Atlanta. Look, she's all the way over there. You have to say
That's
it.
right. I'm very far. I have to hear you.
So loud, loud, loud.
Freedom. Our first mistake was that we thought of freedom as a place rather than a.
Go ahead. Sound it out. C-O-N. T-I.
Time.
T-I-N.
You.
Okay.
Continuation.
Say it again.
Continuation.
Excellent.
Continuation of a struggle.
Loud, loud, loud.
Continuation of a struggle.
That's a short I. T-I.
That's a Y.
It is a Y. But remember we said Y is an imposter? It makes all types of sounds. Right there, it's trying to pretend to be a short I.
I.
Short I.
T.
Mm-hmm.
Rat. Me.
Put it together.
Plan.
Uh-huh.
Never sleep.
Uh-huh. Loud, loud, loud.
Never sleep. Our second mistake
Loud.
was that we thought of freedom as a goal, rather than a launching pad from which to reach our goals.
Loud.
Without purpose, freedom hardly matters. Our third mistake was that we thought of freedom would make us free. That, however, is
Long I.
I.
That's a long I.
N.
L-I.
Life.
Mm-hmm.
License, not freedom at all. Freedom is being shackled into
Long I.
I,
D-E-N.
then T, identity,
Mm-hmm.
identity, purpose, and direction, and being, and
C-O-N.
time,
Mm-hmm.
and constant pursuit.
Excellent. Excellent. Continue. Continue. Continue.
Bravo, Raja. Bravo.
Our reading for all of them is phonics based. As you can see, France just sent us over the poem, and we teach them from 3 years old. We have redone the alphabet in a way that is very African friendly. We don't use the traditional song. We've rewritten the song and also rewritten a curriculum around the alphabet that it's phonics based, that teaches them blending very early on so that they can read and that they don't have to take a lot of time kind of peeling away unlearning what they learned. So if you have a young child, and you're teaching them the traditional song A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and a third of that alphabet gets missed by young people from ages 3 to 5 because they sing the song and they go, hey, cha, che, che, lama, lama, pee. And teachers in school from kindergarten to second grade have to spend time dissecting and separating not only the letters, but the letter recognition and also the sounds. We don't use that song. Like I said, we have a song that goes to African drums. And if you're interested, I'll send a link to Mama Bello, and you can use it with your child at home on YouTube, Spotify, however, but it has them articulating every single letter and every single sound from the very, very beginning of learning sounds, so that they are early readers. We even use it with some of our students who come here from public schools and charter schools, still having those similar issues with phonetics at the upper elementary, middle school ages. And it helps them to accelerate beyond that and get into reading. So some of the students here have, Ron, are you tired? You wanna go with your mom? Okay, come on. Could you tell, wait, before you go, could you tell everybody goodbye?
Bye-bye.
In Swahili?
Bye.
Kwaheri.
Kwaheri.
So the smaller ones often like put their head down after eating, and she just got tired. So I was saying that we use not only the phonetics, but the other things that we have in the space to kind of unlearn some of the things that the students have learned in their public school. So some of the students behind us did attend. We have students who attended public schools. We have students who attended charter schools. We have students who were homeschooled before coming to the space. And I'm gonna let them tell you their experience before I send them off to chess class. So public schools students, who were my public school students before coming here? Kayla, can you tell us your experience in the public school system?
My experience was really harsh because I felt like the teachers were in it for the money and they didn't care about their students. But here I feel loved and I feel like the teachers put their heart in what they're teaching.
Thank you, Kayla. We absolutely love you. Absolutely love you. And Kamal, did you have your hand up? Kamal, you went to a charter school, right? Can you tell us your experience at charter school, Kamal?
At a charter school, my teachers would always write me up for simple things like more than 50 times. And at this school, I still make mistakes, but me and my teachers are working on it.
Thank you, Kamal.
You.
So Kamal is one of those young men who fidget and is sometimes all over the place, right? But when he came here from his charter school, he had been written up on his academic record like 60, 70 times. Every time he would do something, they would write him up. And I'm not exaggerating. His mother came in with this long stack of things and showed me. And she couldn't understand. She was getting called every week about something. And this is something that on paper can follow him. And so when we talk about school to prison pipeline, that's one of the things that contributes to it when you carry this paperwork with you from grade to grade to grade. Also, it gives, I was started my first teaching in public school in 1996. I know for a fact that teachers sit around at the beginning of the year in the teacher's lounge during lunch. I started avoiding the teacher's lounge. But, oh, you have such and such? You have, oh, child, let me tell you. So it's not only is it following you on paper, but it's following you in the minds of the instructors from grade to grade to grade, from class to class to class, and you almost don't have an ability to be different and to be new. So we talk to them, not just Kamal, but all of them, about who you are and who you are not. And we ground all of our discipline in the context of that. This is who you are. This is who you are not. And we work with them and work with them and work with them on being who they are. Zion was homeschooled. So we had public school, charter school. Zion, you were homeschooled? Can you tell us about your homeschool experience?
At my home school, it was fun and I learned a lot. But here, I have a bigger community and a lot of friends.
Okay, so we do have some children who come here from a homeschool environment just for the community, and not just for the community, for the education, but to be educated in community. And we can talk about that when I have them go to chess class. But I personally, I am a big fan of homeschool. Children can get one-on-one attention, and I feel that education is about 20% information, 80% acculturation. So, and the only way to acculturate a child is in the context of culture, is in the context of community. So that's why I didn't just homeschool. I homeschooled my son for a while. I did homeschool groups for a while. And then I just feel like we have to have systems. We have to have systems that acculturate our children and our students to know, again, who they are, who they're not, and what they are tasked to do in service of their community. Amir, were you at a charter school too? You were at a public school? So what do you feel like is the difference in the things that you're learning here and the things that you were learning at your public school?
At my public school, I learned George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and people like that. But here I learned a lot about Black people and Daniel Hope Williams and George Washington Carver, Mary Patel, Imhotep, and Rebecca Lee Crumpler.
So with the projects that we'll do, and I'll explain them more at length, every project has 15, at least 15 African diasporic scholars and ancestors attached to that project. So every 3 months, they learn 15 to 20 African diasporic scholars and ancestors. And by the time they leave here in 1 year, they know, not only they know the person by face, you don't have to put the name on the face, they can look at picture on a book and know that is Sheikh Anta Diop. They can tell you the name of their book, they can tell you what's in their book, they can tell you what they wrote about, because we use those writings and those teachings in the context of our work. So we do 3 semesters. Every semester they get 15 to 20 scholars and African diasporic ancestors that they have to learn by face and by work. And they don't get that where they're in their public schools. I've had some of the students here come not knowing that Egypt was on continental Africa until doing the project with us about agriculture. And when we're learning about agriculture, where did they say agriculture started at, guys? The books?
Asia.
Yeah, but when we were reading the textbooks, the school textbooks, where did they say that agriculture started?
Europe.
Europe and Asia, China, yes. So, but what is, when we think about it, just logically, does that make sense?
No, because people first was born, well, not born, but created on Africa. So it wouldn't make sense that China, Asia, Europe had the first agriculture. And Eurasian people made other people have the same mindset as them.
Okay, so you said Eurasian. Why do you say Eurasian?
because Europe isn't really a continent because it is not surrounded by water on all sides.
Okay.
And it's connected with Asia.
Okay. So if Europe is not actually a continent, why do we call it one? Okay.
Because Europeans have the ability to define reality and make it seem like it's yours.
And who said that quote?
Dr. Wayne Nobles.
Dr. Wayne Nobles. So we have this is school for us. This is school. This is how we do school. They are charged with not just reading a textbook and memorizing so that they can do a ABCD, pick the correct answer. They're actually not. I'll use the word chastised for lack of a better word for not thinking through the textbook. And if they come across something that makes no sense and they just keep reading, let's back up. Something you just read didn't make sense. Read it again and tell me what didn't make sense. So they are taught not only information, but they're taught you have to analyze the things that are coming in through your, you have to analyze the things that are coming in through your
Mind.
what's the word? Here and here.
Eyes.
And
Ears.
and those are portals to your what?
Mind.
Portals to your mind. So the things that come in through your eyes, the things that come in through your ears are portals through your mind. And you do not just let them in. You have to stop them at the door and say, hold on, let me ask you a few questions. Let me ask you a couple questions to see if you're going to make it up here. Because so many things, we talk about how how Eurocentric an education in public schools, charter schools is, but we do not know the extent. When we say that, we really do not know the extent to which that is the case. We can look at characters like Amir was saying, he only learned about the presidents who were all white people, and then they didn't know that Egypt was on continental Africa. That's obvious. That's obvious Eurocentrism, right? But guys, when we were learning about agriculture, and we were also doing science, we did life science with this project, and we started talking about cells and living things and what's living and what's not living. What did we find in the textbook that we had to backtrack and kind of take a second look at in terms of what they were saying is living and not living?
Oh, water.
Okay, so can you tell us, Zion, can you stand up?
The ancient Egyptians said that water is alive because in Egypt they had the Nile River, and it flooded every August, and they say that
So what did the textbook say about water?
it said that water is not alive because it didn't have
There's seven
there's
characteristics
7 characteristics
of living
that
things.
Europeans say that they have to be alive.
Okay, so when you say something is not living, when it is an object, when you objectify it, like we read in Marimba Anis Yurugu, when you make something an object, what are you able to do to that thing? What does that do to your mindset when you make something an object and you say it's not living?
It changes it.
It changes it? What does it do to your mindset about that thing?
That is not alive.
When you say it's not alive and you make it an object. What do you think, Kayla?
I think
If I say you're an object and you're not living, you're not alive, you're not a human, what does that do to my mindset about you?
it says that I don't matter.
So when I say that water is not alive, what do I do? What does that do to my mindset about the water?
You're saying that water is not alive.
So what have we been able to do to our water that people in Kemet never would have thought of doing?
Drinking?
that they never would have thought of doing? What do we do to our water? Yeah, what did you say?
We put chemicals in it.
Put-
Chemicals in it.
Put chemicals in it,
Polluted.
polluted,
Yes.
We look like trash.
treat it like trash, treat it like a
Mhm.
dumping ground, because we
Dropping it in
say
the trash.
we have objectified it and say it's not alive. So when I say we don't know the extent to which the public school education is Eurocentric in its nature, we really don't, because there are so many things like that, those 7 characteristics of what makes something living according to a European standard, and then they have to memorize all 7, and then they have to put them down on a test. And if they don't get it correct on the test, now they're getting the answer wrong, which really solidifies in the brain that this is the definition of living. And it creates a mindset in ways that at depths that we have not even begun to imagine. It goes beyond just, oh, there's no representation, there's no brown faces, there's no black faces. It goes beyond that. There is a mindset that our children are instilled with about what is living, what's not living, what's good, what's not good. What they, like Kayla was saying, they define our reality. And that is the definition of power. That's the definition of a Eurocentric education. And that's what we try to undo and redo here, to redefine our own reality and allow our children and enable our children to read through something, look at something on a screen, and know when it doesn't match with the reality that they have been given as African people.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I promised them a chess class for joining us today. So I'm gonna allow them to go to they have a little mock chess tournament happening in the back. See, Mama?
I applaud you.
And Bella? Asante sana. Go ahead. So
Sana.
I told them after our conversation they could be in the chess tournament, and so I was looking at the time on the screen, and I didn't want them to miss it.
Wonderful. No, you did quite a demonstration. I don't think anyone here has any doubt as to the quality of the work that the school, new Alkebulan Center, project base, is offering to the families in the community. Thank you very, very much for thinking about it, for putting in the work. I know when you're doing this kind of work, there's no 8-hour job. There's no 8-hour job. There is no hour job. There is
Right.
2 a.m. is the same as 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. to us.
Absolutely.
When we do this kind of work. So really, and as you can see, our audience, as you look at this, you imagine yourself, your child walking every day into this room and looking at their divine self on a daily basis. This is a beautiful artwork as well. I can compliment the artist. So yes, the sister has really put something together that is fabulous. And I do hope everyone in the Florida area, or those who are planning to move or were thinking about moving, move close to the school. Don't move far from the school. So it is a fabulous work. I have seen the 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds reading the real Yorugu book, the book that we all struggle with. We've seen little children make us really question ourselves. Do I really know how to read? Because if I was reading like that at 7, I would certainly be a whole different kind of level reader at 70. But when we look at what these children are doing at 4 and 7, and that's the key, start them young, give them everything that the world, the cosmos has for them. Don't limit your children. They are dealing with several languages right here and there. They are, you can see it's a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge. And that means power is in the works. That's what power is all about. When you know what you know and live what you know, that's when you can transform your knowledge into power. So, Sister Cheryl.
Yes.
Tell us, how did you get started with this idea? How did this idea came to you about creating that school?
I went to college in 1992, from 92 to 96. And I went in with the intention of studying law. I actually did study pre-law for a while. That was my designated major, was pre-law. But I always had an affinity for families and children. So I was studying juvenile law. And about 2 years into almost 2 years into my college career, I'm walking across the quad and I get a phone call from my mother, and she tells me that one of my cousins had been arrested. He was maybe 15 at the time. And this particular person was very special to me. He was very close to me. And I felt that out of all of us, and there were a lot of us, he was the most gifted young person I'd ever seen. He would go to church and watch the hands of the pianist. And this is when he's Roger's age. He would just watch their hands. And then after everyone leaves the church, he would sit and pick out exactly what the pianist just did. He learned every instrument that was played in the church the exact same way. He had perfect pitch just by hearing something off the instrument. I mean, musical genius. So when she told me that he was in jail instead of Juilliard, I was crushed. I was crushed. And I said, if a child needs an attorney, which he did at that time, if a child needs an attorney, or me as an attorney, I'm too late. I am way too late. And I turned around from walking to my law class. I went straight to the administrative offices, and I changed my major to education that moment, that day. I felt, because I kept asking, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I heard or felt that I should start a school. I should do something that would educate away from whatever it was that landed him in prison for several, in and out, in and out, in and out. And I just didn't see a reason for that. I couldn't understand it. Why am I here and he's now on his way there? And so I committed myself then, that moment. And I have been doing the exact same thing since that moment, which is trying to figure out how to build the best educational environment for the mind of an African child.
Fabulous. Note well how to build an educational environment for the mind of an African child. Absolutely. And through the mind shall touch the soul. Wonderful. How did you literally get to create the school?
I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what was going to work. I thought maybe it was public school was too confining. I only knew public school from the vantage point of a student. So the first thing I did was when I graduated, and I graduated from one of the top 3 colleges in the country. I had offers to go work in finance. I had offers. I'm building a school, but I had no idea how to do it. So I went into the public school system. I turned down the job offers. I graduated from Stanford University. I turned down the job offers that I was giving, and I said, I'm gonna figure out how schools work. I went and I taught in the public school system. After teaching in the public school system, I went and I taught in the charter school system. After teaching in the charter school system, I went and I worked for a charter school organization, management organization, whose task it was to actually write charters and build charter schools. After that, I taught in a Jewish school, a Catholic school, a Montessori school, a free school. Every schooling model that I would read about, I would go there and I would either teach there or I would enroll my child there, or both. He was never without me, but I would enroll him, I would teach, we would come home, I would ask him, well, how was your experience? Let me see what you're learning. So, because I didn't know what was best for us. And after about a decade of doing all of that, getting all of this information, I taught one last year and I didn't have the money. I did not have the money to open a school. It takes not just knowledge, but it takes money. So I went to my mother and I said, I want to open a school. And will you allow me to, bring my son, who was a toddler at the time, to come in, live with you so that I can save every penny that I possibly can. She said, feed him, don't worry about any other bill, and put the money away, because I know whatever you said you were gonna do, you have been doing that thing for over a decade now. So you put the money away, feed him, and whenever you're ready to open the doors, you let me know. And I saved about $40,000, and I used it to open a school.
See, where there is a will, there is a way, right? So she gave up a nice new car, her own apartment, her own way, her own this, because when you go back to mama's house, you also fall under mama's law.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we have to be clear on that. So she sacrificed all of that, her independence and this and that, so she could save the money she needed. Why didn't you go get a loan? I mean, everybody here gets a loan.
For me, it wasn't as simple, because what I did immediately after getting out of college was to use my good credit or non-credit, because I hadn't done anything as an adult yet. I used that to get my mother out of a situation and into the house that I went back to a decade later and asked her to stay in.
All right. So help mama first, then later you never know. You may need what you thought you were doing for helping others.
Right.
So don't ever hesitate when we can help someone else, especially.
So I did what I knew how to do, which was that wasn't accessible to me because I had used that collateral in another way. And I did what I knew to do, which was work and save.
And which is key. Debt is enslavement. The more we get into debt, we say my life is better because I'm driving a such car. Think it through.
Yeah.
Think it through seriously. All right. Whereas a free mind, someone who wants to be independent, who wants to be autonomous, always look for other ways of doing things. And the first element, if we work within the community, first community is the family. So work with the family. You know, borrow from the cousin, borrow from the aunt, the mother, or helping the mother or the cousin when they're in a difficult situation. That's investment.
Right.
Right? So she invested, and down the way, hey, she was surprised. The investment was there for her.
Right.
But most of all, she really, you know, even though she says she no longer had this collateral, the possibility of borrowing, I don't believe that. I think her mind is just not set on that. She has the kind of free mind that she says, I got to find a way without going into this system and enslave myself. Because looking at her work, that's what I understand, is that she really wanted to find a way. And she has. Once you really want it, it will come to you. May not come on Thursday, like you said. You may think in 3 months and it comes in 3 years or 13 years, but it will come once your mind is set to what you want. So you see the sister go into business for herself without getting herself into deep debt. And continue. So you set up the first structure. Now, getting the furniture, getting the artists to come and do this. How did you get it all done?
So I come from a large family, and all of the boys on my mother's side, which is 6, and the women, which is 6, all of the boys were taught by my grandfather to be brick masons, to be construction workers. They have their own construction company, so they all know how to build and fix and work. That's what we work. So I got the space, I brought the community in, I brought my family in. The place was packed with people. We huddled up and we said, okay, this needs fixing, this needs changing, this needs mounting, this needs building, this needs to be constructed. And within 12 days of all of us coming in, painting walls and plastering here and redoing all the floors, 12 days, everything's finished, furniture's laid out, and we opened the doors and the children came in. It was really, really a family and community effort to remodel the entire, we have 3 bays, 1,700 square feet each, to remodel the entire place in 12 days. And the community came out in waves. You know, one group would come and the next group would come and give them the paintbrush. And it was really an effort on the part of family and community. And people donated things that they had, tables, chairs.
All right. You see, when we are constantly hearing, oh, Black people can't do this. Black people don't do nothing together. Here is an example of Black people coming together and doing great things together. So keep those examples in your head. Keep those examples in your heart as you set your own goals for what you want to do. Don't block yourself from the start. Trust the person next to you, and you'll be surprised how many will come in and help do the things. All my life, everything I've done, I've always been, I've never had the money to do anything, but I could just say, all I need to do, and then sure enough, things fall into place.
Absolutely.
I do. Even going to Australia. Went to Australia with $25 in my pocket for 2 weeks.
Wow. I
had the ticket. I had the hotel was paid. So I said, why not? $25, that's plenty of money. I'm gone. So yes, once you trust your inner self and once your purpose is aligned to you, with one, you and your purpose is one, you and your mission is one, then you can accomplish what you will. Then you have to go ahead, trust yourself, trust the one next to you, and step. Go
Yes.
ahead.
We are guided. We are a guided people. We may say that, oh, I'm gonna pray on it, or oh, I'm gonna, call in the ancestors. That it is real. It is real. Serendipity is real. Things lining up. If you move in a certain direction and things lining up and crossing your path, like it's real. I have been needing something and not knowing how we were going to do it in the school, and have someone show up at the door, or have someone call on the phone and say, hi, I have a computer company, and I was just calling to see if you needed. Actually, so it really is. We are a guided people. One of the things that I had to accept and remember from my grandmother, who was, when they say that I had a praying grandmother, I don't know if you've ever heard that gospel song, I had a praying grandmother. There's a song about that. But I had a praying grandmother, and I have a praying mother. And we often forget the power of the unseen team members that we have. I didn't build a school. The community came in and helped with everything that you see, from everything. The community came in and helped with everything. But there's an unseen army behind us, team behind us, in front of us, on the side of us, that when we allow ourselves to use that energy, essence, and force, and keep going. Like, there have been many times where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go and do private homeschooling because I don't know how I'm gonna keep the doors open. It's never happened. It's that every time I get ready to quit, and I've gone through some really tumultuous things that made me feel like this is not going to keep going. This can't possibly keep going, from everything to the pandemic and everything. I'm like, okay, this is the last year. This year is the last year. Every year is the last year. But it's not up to me. I might think that in my mind, and I pray about it, and I get, no, it's not. No, it's not. And we keep going.
That's right. In Vadum, we say we have the battalions and the escorts that we don't see. And once you're aware that they are, then works get done. Works get done.
Yes.
Fabulous, fabulous. So you can see what happened to me on Saturday when I saw these young children doing their marvelous work, exhibiting their marvelous knowledge, their ability to master, to comprehend things that adults don't always comprehend. We've been reading this poem for so many weeks, so many months. We read this poem every week. And some of us are still struggling with the poem. But we looked at the 4-year-old reading it. She didn't miss a bit. She knew exactly what she was talking about. She only had it for about, I don't know, maybe an hour. I know Francine sent it yesterday. So they only had it a few minutes.
Yeah.
How a 4-year-old get into a text like this. And that is, I applaud all the teachers of the school, the directors, and all the battalions
All the
that
battalions.
work, all the escorts that protect the school. Because when you're doing this work, don't think for 1 minute that you don't have enemies. They are there, but the battalions are there. The escorts are there.
Absolutely.
And they protect us. And that's what allows us to be doing what we do, even though we couldn't really explain how we do it. But the best thing is when you look at our children at that age with this kind of information, then we know that a better tomorrow is coming. That's That to me is the biggest lesson, the biggest confirmation I received Saturday at that school. Every time I walked into a room, I could see clearly that tomorrow that we sort of wonder, we say maybe, it might, when we look at our children, what kind of information they come. Children coming every day to this representation of themselves, this divine representation of themselves. Look at our sister here, under the wings. She's so beautifully covered and protected. And that kind of image of ourselves, we need it. Our children need it. And we need to not just wear it on the necklace, on the earrings, but in this dimension, in a large room, it is impressive and it is powerful.
One of the things that I've been very happy about and very proud about is that we have Christian families here, we have Muslim families here, we have families in Ifa, we have Hebrew Israelites, just people of all different types of faith, right? And we're able to have the same conversation, and that has never been an issue. They don't look at the images and think, oh, it is all about like I said, 20% information, 80% acculturation. How are we acculturating our children to know and think about themselves? Okay, you are an African Christian child. Let's take a look at some of the allegories in that book. Okay, you're a Muslim. Okay, let's let's take a look at some of the allegories in that book, because the lessons, the fundamental lessons are there. They're foundational and they're the same. So we don't fight about religion. That's one of the things that I'm grateful about, and I give thanks for never having to explain that our children and their identity and their sense of themselves, knowing that they are, and this is a conversation that they can have with you too, like, I am not my body. I have a body, but I am not my body. And then knowing that I am that spirit, that light, that energy, having that translate over as a Christian, having that translate over as a Muslim, having that translate over as Ifa, I have been very grateful for that element, because we're able to give this information to students without having that be an impediment to it.
Fantastic. All right. Is there something in particular that you want to share with us before we end our dialogue?
I did want to show everyone our latest project. So when I say that we are a project-based school, so you heard some of the African-centered thinking. They come at all of their projects with themselves first, with their history first, with their ancestors first, with their scholars first, right? But they build things, and I'm very excited about this semester's project build. So I saw someone write in the chat about the curriculum and where did we get it. We wrote it. One of the things that I found in all of my travels around to different schooling models, that they didn't really have the information that our scholars had the information. Urugu has the information in the book. Wade Nobles has the information, but those books don't usually reach our people until you've graduated college and someone on the train in New York, I'm telling my own experience, someone on the train in New York next to you is reading something and you're like, and he's trying to hit on you, but you say, well, what you reading? So I'm like, I have to be on a train in New York to get this information. And I just went to Stanford. I never read books like this before. But anyway, so we bring those books in, we read those books, and we bring the information into a curriculum that we have coined as a Roots to STEM curriculum. That is the name of our curriculum, Roots to STEM. Roots being our history, our ancestral information, to STEM being science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It implies all that they do. That is the name of our curriculum, Roots to STEM curriculum. So what they are building this semester, they studied agriculture, planting, growing. We asked ourselves, okay, we're in the middle of a pandemic. If the grocery stores closed for 3 months, for 6 months, how would you eat? What would you eat? What is actually feeding these vehicles, these bodies that what is the nutritious thing to eat? So what we did, we took that information, we turned it into a project called Give an Inch, Take a Yard, because we're turning some of our neighbors' yards into edible gardens. But we also, in addition to planting food outside, we learned to plant food inside. Right? So the children got the picture of an actual tree and then recreated that tree into a hydroponic, water-based, it's water only, a hydroponic tree that is constructed on the inside of our school that grows vegetables, herbs, lettuces, and edible food. So I'm gonna show it to you, 1 second. So this is, I don't know if you can see it. This is the tree that was the inspiration for this semester's project. And I can't move the entire computer, but I'll try to turn it around here. This, I don't know if you can see.
Yes, we see.
Along the wall on the side is a replica of that tree with a water reservoir at the bottom. Can't see the reservoir, but it doesn't run up your water bill because it has its own reservoir. They learned about the circulatory system, the heart, all of the systems of the body, and they made it emulate the circulatory system. So there's a pump inside of the reservoir that pumps the water throughout and feeds the limbs nutrients and water, and they're growing food on our wall. So I'm really kind of proud of that. When I say we do projects, we do real life, real world projects. The first semester of last year, they made an electric car. The second semester, they learned about entrepreneurship, and they built, the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds built it's called the stand, and they learned concessions and counting money. The older ones, 7, 8, and 9, they wrote an app, a mathematics app, for the phone that turns your phone camera into a scanner. So you can scan the barcode in a grocery store, and what shows up on your screen is a game that turns that item into a math problem. So as you are walking through the store and shopping, your child can use your phone to do math, to scan boxes and cans and things, and do math problems based on what they scanned. So that was their business. And then in the third semester, right around Black Lives Matter and marching and everything, the project was called Chess Not Checkers. That's where they learned chess. But it was all about strategic thinking and thinking 3, 4, 5 moves or years into the future, and coming up with a strategy. So it was about strategic thinking. And they wrote a book series on the United States government, documents like the Bill of Rights, but from their own perspective. So when we do projects, we do really, really big projects. You're not gonna find board things where they just get to paste a picture on it and where they just get to you know, copy and paste something off the internet. That's that's not what we do. We want to let them know that, like, okay, vertical growing of food is a very popular industry right now in agriculture. They've built a hydroponic grower. That's something that they can put on their academic resume if they want to pursue that. If they want to go and work for Tesla, they can say, I participated in creating an electric car, which they absolutely did. So we build really large scale, hands-on projects where they have to use power tools and apply the algebra, the physics, and all of it that they are learning so that they can remember what it is that they're learning.
Fabulous. Really, Sister Cheryl, thank you very, very much. We hope that everyone who will look at our today's Bayyinah and Friends will get in touch with you. Will do. I'm sure Franz will put in the chat some of the information, the contact information for you, so that those who want to have more information, the website for the school and all that will be made available, so those who need to can continue. Because one of our purpose here in Bayyinah and Friends is to strengthen our community, build a community, and make it so that everyone can get, you know, can have, we each can learn from each other, but we each can also share information, contact, connect with each other in whatever level that it is, that it can be beneficial to the community. So thank you very much. Now we have a good idea what we could do with our 3 to 10-year-olds.
Yes.
Where we can bring them.
Actually, to about 14.
Oh, 14, great. Where we can get information to enrich them if we can get to you, but through your school, we can get information that will guide us into the things that we can do with our young ones, our younger ones. So we can really prepare them for the better tomorrow that we are aiming to. So at this point, before we open up for questions, today is a little bit different. No, we didn't have a guest. We had a group of guests, an escort. We had a guest escorted. We were dialoguing with both our present and our future in a more direct way today. So before we go over to the question and answer period, I will do my duty for Fondation Félicité. But even before that, there's something else I want to share with you. In the spirit of building, and I've been really thinking, how can we make our weekly meeting more beneficial to everyone who participates? So the idea I've received is that we are gonna ask everyone to put your profession under your name, so that while we are exchanging, while we're looking at each other and sharing information, if I was looking for a lawyer, then I see that Franz is a lawyer. So, hey, I have somebody that I can contact here. If he does not do the law I need, he might be able to refer me. But I'm not going in the yellow pages or whatever it is that people go to today. You know, we are already of like mind here. So we start by helping each other and doing business with each other and all of that. So from this point on, I'm inviting anyone starting next week, but the latest on December 1st, everyone should have the profession under the name, so that when we're looking for someone, we start right in the family first. And at this point, we'll do our duty towards Fondation Félicité with Franz's help. Yes, reminder, never forget what our back looked like when so-called good Christians were civilizing us. This is how the civilizers wrote on our backs. Always remember that, please. Let's go. All right. So all that we do is for Fondation Marie-Claire Heureuse Félicité Bonheur Dessalines. You can get in touch with us via Twitter. I don't really recommend the Twitter. I rarely go on. Fondation Félicité Instagram, yes. Official Bayyinah Bello YouTube is being worked at. To contact us on the phone, WhatsApp 509-2940-0869, or on our website, it's www.fondationfelicite.com. And if you want to donate to help support the work, it's pourfondationfelicite@gmail.com. Thank you very much. That's for the contact. We also have books that are available. If you want to know more about the liberator of Haiti, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, we have this book, which is available on Amazon. We have, and there's also a Kindle version of it that's available. Then we also have She Rose of the Haitian Revolution, and written by France is Boukman, Macandal, and Haiti, the First Black Republic. All four of these books are published by Thoroughbred Books. So now that you have all the information, we can go on and open up the floor for question and answers with all the participants.
All right. Thank you, Professor Bayyinah Bello, and thank you so much, Cheryl, for that amazing display and presentation by you and your students. I was over here watching, just amazed and looking at my kids like, but nah, it's awesome what you're doing. I congratulate you. I salute you. It's very important work that you're doing. So it gives me a lot of hope, and it gives me a lot of pride to know that there are children that are out there that are learning the things that you're teaching them. So salute to you, sister. And I think you might need to raise, I've been looking at the chat, you might need to raise the age qualification, because I think there's some 30, 40, and 50-year-olds that want to enroll in your school.
I'm very much interested in having an online session of sorts, community, maybe on Facebook or something, if people are interested, just to talk about the education of our children. So if people want information on how we do what we do and how you can do it at home, if you would like to do elements of what we do at home, I'm definitely open to doing that. We have not formulated that as yet, but if there is interest, we could definitely start a Facebook group for educating our children.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. I'm sure that there's a lot of interest here, at least. So we'll be willing to support you in that endeavor. Okay, so everyone, this time it's question and answer. So make sure you have your questions ready to go. You know how it works. Hit the raise hand icon so that I can see your hand go up in the participant screen, and then I'll choose you to ask the question to Cheryl, our sister Cheryl Irvin, and or Professor Bayyinah Bello. All right, so I see we have a few hands up already, so we could go ahead and get started with Sister Charlene. Charlene, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question, please.
Hi, greetings, Brother Franz. Greetings, Sister Bayyinah and Sister Cheryl. Hello, everybody, my beautiful family. I love being here. Sister Cheryl, oh my God, girl, bless you for what you're doing. The boldness, the uniqueness, the love, the passion, everything. I love it. I love it. And let me tell you, I have one of those children when you were the young man. I think it was a young man. A young lady that was talking about always getting in trouble. I have one of those children, and I can relate. And I appreciate that you kept it real. you know, usually when a school is like advertising themselves or putting themselves in front, they only put the best behaved children and all that stuff. And that's real. And, you know, that's a struggle for people like me. And the fact that, you know, you have a school that appreciates children no matter what, and they're not getting in trouble, and you're finding solutions, it's encouraging, and I want to be a part of it. So I guess my question is, are you planning to come East Coast or expand or make this curriculum available to somebody that, you know, wants to build a school for children that are, you know, so active, but they're just looking for a home to feel accepted, and, you know, it's okay to make mistakes. We got you. I love
Yeah.
what you're doing, my sister. I love it. I love it. And I bless you in all your work. Don't you dare quit. We need you.
I quit every day, every single day, and it doesn't seem to stick. It doesn't seem to stick. No, but in all seriousness, the young man that you saw, he's not doing anything egregious. That's the thing. So when he brought this file of things, it could just be, you know, crumpling this up, or, you know, looking down at the floor when the teacher's talking, or just like a bunch of little things, but nothing. He's not he's not a difficult child. He's just all over the place all the time, all over the place all the time, and that tends to be the case with many of our children. You know, with many of our children. And when you have a classroom, being a public school teacher, like I said, starting in 1996. And so I've been in the environment and I understand. And when you have a classroom and you're trying to manage 30 children in a room, and you got him here, there, and everywhere, I can understand. It gets a little bit daunting. And we have to know what we're doing to that child when he has a rap sheet this big. We have to know what we're doing to him. So we generally just say, first of all, that's very Yoruba behavior of you. We start every year with the book Yoruba. Every year with the book Yoruba. And it allows them to define who they are and who they're not. And so what we did was start to turn the actual Marimba Ani's book Yoruba into a children's book series with the big pictures and the words that they can understand and the concepts as they can understand it. So we can then go back and reference and say to them, that's really Yoruba behavior. That is not who you are. That's not who you are. You're better than that. And I expect you to be better than that. So that's one of the things, defining very clearly who you are, not just who you are, but here's the part that a lot of African parents don't want to do. When I say African parents, I mean Black or what have you. I see the young man. Here's the part
Yeah, that's the one.
yeah, a lot of our parents don't want to do, right? Defining who they are, they're fine with that. They're great. Oh, pride in your Black skin, pride in your Black hair. But who you are not, you have to define for them who they are not. Because they're seeing that and they're being inundated with that image, with that information, with that mindset all day, every day, and they take it on as being a part of themselves, particularly the way that it's languaged, right? Everything is we, right? Everything is we, whether it's stuff they do or stuff everything is we. So they turn on the TV, we here in the United States, and our president this, and everything is we and our. And as children, they don't know how to differentiate which part of that to take on as being them and which not. So as African parents, we not only have to teach our children who they are, which we have been doing a pretty good job of since the 60s, right? But the part that we abstain from and often shy away from is teaching them who they're not. That's almost as imperative as teaching them who they are. Because if you teach them who they are in the context of not teaching them the opposite of who they're not, they're going to take on characteristics, especially if they're in public places, which we all are, that you don't want them to have. So we start out with, this is who you are, this is who you're not. And then we can say, that's very Yoruba behavior. Don't do that. That's really Yoruba behavior. Don't do that. And they get it. They understand, like, okay, I'm not Yoruba. I shouldn't be doing that. Or they'll ask, like, what about that is Yoruba? So yesterday we had an activity where they all of them sat on one side of the room. And 3 of the teachers sat on the other side of the room. I gave them real money, right? I started out with 1 student, gave them the money. I say, okay, you're all the vendors that were here on Saturday, all of your vendors. You have something to sell, you've created something, you have something to sell. Now, you can choose to pass this $5 along to the next person and buy from them, or I'm Amazon, this teacher's Target, this teacher's Walmart. You can, if you're choosing to stay within your community and the vendors, just keep passing it around, passing it around, passing it around. But if you want something from Amazon, bring me the money. If you want something from Walmart, bring her the money. You want something from Target, bring her the money. The $5 got to 3 people before one of them jumped up and he was like, I gotta go to Target. I love Target. And so we had a conversation about it, right? We had a conversation about it. And he said the phrase, well, it was my $5. Target's near my house. If I'm hungry, it's every man for himself. So we were able to take that phrase, and I told him that's a very Yoruba thing to say. And he didn't just take it. He said, I don't understand why. Why is that? Because it's true, isn't it? So our entire lesson for that day turned into circling back to who you are and who you're not, and understanding why that is Yoruba behavior as opposed to Alkebulan behavior. They don't always know. Hey, we don't always know. But now they're able to have these conversations, and there's a point of reference to go back to. So that's one thing. We have to teach them who they are. We have to teach them who they're not. And then another thing that we try to do here is have a system and a protocol for everything, right? They know how to greet someone who comes in the door. They know how to stand up when told to stand up. They know there's a way to go, there's a way to line up. There's a way to go to the bathroom. There's a way that you say this. So if there's a structure in place, and we fall short sometimes in sticking to it, but if there is a structure in place, that really mitigates behavioral issues and the need to punish them. Because it's like, yeah, I ran over there, but you weren't told to do that. You weren't told to do like that. What your child is doing. There's a way that you get an adult's attention in this space, and they have to do it that way, or the automatic answer to their question is no. You don't get punished. It's just, if you don't get my attention in that way, the automatic answer is no. So turn around. Right? And when they get that, when they get, ooh, if I don't do it that way, I'm not going to get what I want, then they fall in line. And they see other children doing it too. So parents, this is something that I would offer in a group, those 2 teams. Teach them who they are, who they're not, and have systems and protocols in place so that they know how to get your attention, so that they know how to go and grab something from the fridge if they need it. So they know how to ask you if they can do whatever. It may seem tedious, but it really cuts down on the amount of punishment and constant chastising that you have to do.
Thank you so much. I think I'm gonna cry. That's like really good information. Thank you so much. And please get that Facebook started. I'm there with you.
Yes. So the word for excuse me, Mom, the word for excuse me is samahani, right?
Samahani.
Yes. So they come, they get your attention, samahani. They're only allowed to say it once. If I look at you acknowledging that you just said, excuse me, and that I know you want something. And what you're supposed to do then is wait. If you call me again, if you say, excuse me again, do not dare tug my dress. Don't touch me. You say, Sama, honey, I acknowledge that I see you. And then you wait. Anything more than that, the answer is no.
Just like
Discipline.
You only have to do that twice. And I promise you, they will stop pulling on you like that. Because they will get like, I want what I want. And when I do it that way, she gives it to me. When I do it that way, she doesn't.
exactly. Yeah, and that's something Professor Bello always preaches is discipline, right? Discipline is something that we lack a lot in our culture these days. So instilling discipline while our children are still young is very key to once they grow older, right? So very good. I love those examples. Okay, let's go to the next question is from Wajit Osset. Go ahead, Wajid. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Thank you, Brother Fine. Peace and blessings to you and Mama Bello and to Sister Cheryl Irvin. Everything you said, everything you're doing is really inspirational, just amazing. And I appreciate you coming and sharing with us. I wanted to know, in your curriculum and throughout the school, is like say is physical education something that's also worked in there? And if so, would martial arts be something a part of like say physical education? Do you guys like have any martial arts programs or anything like that?
My apologies. My apologies, sis. One of the things that would be really nice to have here is an administrative assistant. So when someone knocks on the door, I don't have to get up. But that is not something we have right now. Could you repeat your question?
Not yet. It's coming.
Yes.
Put it out there.
That is something that is on its way.
Yes.
So
That's great to hear.
I didn't hear your question.
Oh, no. I was just saying that's great to hear. I was asking if martial arts, like say, what kind of martial arts say were you guys looking into or things of that nature?
We have a martial arts instructor from the community who did an entire summer program with them, and who he also offers after class and midday. We also do exercise and recess, and he does a Chinese form called Goju. Is that Chinese? Yes.
I think it's Japanese.
Okay, yes. So they do, they have been learning Goju.
That's awesome. That's great. That's great. Once again, thank you for sharing.
One of the things, my son was in martial arts since he was 4, and just the ability that it gives them to stand still 4 or 5 minutes is priceless. And they don't always, sometimes they miss the mark with regards to the standing still, but it does help with showing them discipline and controlling their body, getting that message that you have a body. You are not your body, you have one. So therefore you tell it what to do. And then, and so they're able to actually demonstrate that in martial arts. And a lot of them play soccer too. A lot of
that's beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of the boys play soccer. It's a very heavy Caribbean environment among the families.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ajit. All right, let's move on to our next question coming from Dr. Ya. Go ahead, Dr. Ya. Unmute yourself. Go ahead and ask a question, please. Dr. Ya, you're on mute.
Hello,
Hey,
hello,
there you are.
hello, family. Onet.
Yes,
Uh,
friend.
I am. I want to say that I'm so proud of Sister Cheryl.
Yes.
Uh, I am very touched by everything you've shared with us. I came in late. I apologize, but the moment I got in, I saw your picture of the Ma'at. I saw your kids, and I heard your process. Everything you said has been inspirational. And for me, it's inspirational, continue to be inspirational, because I had my child when he was in the 5th grade. I didn't want to put him in the public school system.
Right.
I had it. And I was able to find an Afrocentric school called Sankofa International Academy.
Yes.
That was run by Ali McLean.
Yes.
May she rest in peace, Ibaye. And I enrolled my son, and it was the best experience for me as an adult. It's like I was going back to 5th grade and learning a lot of the history about America from a Black perspective.
Yes.
All the struggles that they didn't teach you in class. Like you said, the acculturation was Eurocentric. So saying that is that I want to breathe to tell you to continue to work. Like the other sisters say, you cannot give up. And any way I can support you, I will. I want to. I don't even know where you are in Florida, because I came in at the tail end. But as soon as France puts it on, I'll look at your website. But everything you're saying, everything you're doing, all of us who are conscious, who are woke, have been looking for you, have been wanting you. And you're living by a lot of the different principles. And one of them I know is true is the Kahumba. You will be living this earth a better place because of what you're giving. So again, my son learned so much. Like you say, let them know who they're not is important. Because even to this day, he's older, he's in a boarding school. I'm not too happy about it, but it felt like this is the only route I had. So I'm constantly having to remind him who
Right.
he is.
Oh,
And like you say, discipline. It might become tedious, the way you ask questions. So I thank you. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marbello. Thank you, Franz.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ya.
One of the questions in the chat was asking about Valerie Ingrid says, I have a couple of questions, and forgive me, I have to write. It's loud in the background. What happens when the children complete your program? Do they advance in your school, or do you give them recommendations for other schools like high school and college? So right now we are from 3 years old to 10 years old is our oldest one. The idea, the prayer, the work is to stabilize where we are, and then to build upwards into a high school environment, right? But every child does get a transcript when they leave here that they can take to high school and enter into whatever advanced classes are there for them. We also direct them towards dual enrollment programs where they are dually doing high school classes and college classes at the same time, sometimes on college campuses. That was an experience that I had as a young person. It's really up to the parents and the direction that the parent wants them to go in. One of the things that we do is in the various projects, we'll keep notes on the child and say, like, he really lit up when we were talking about water, or when we were talking about vertical growing, or when we were doing electrical car. He's really into cars. He's really into this element of physics. He's really into just really learning the child, so that when the parent gets ready to direct them, we can actually help to steer them into the direction of where the child was naturally kind of emanating from. Like, we have one of our 3 and 4-year-old class. It's just something simple. It's like the big Lego blocks, right? And he'll build a structure, but this isn't always a bilateral or trilateral balance to the structure at 3 and 4. And he's making these intricate things, but it's the same on each side and the front. There's an architect in there that we didn't show him how to do, but now that we know it's there, we're constantly putting architectural things in front of him to have him draw and build, and really encouraging him and telling him how much of an architect he is and comparing him to Imhotep. He knows all about Imhotep. And so like for a child like that, we will have the information on that child to give to the parent and say, it's your choice where you're going to send your child after here, but as we have observed him, here's our files on them. This is an architect. And you might want to encourage that and really feed that. And then we reference them to magnet programs and different programs throughout the city that they can put them in that fit their natural inclination. And not all of them are college oriented. Like he's an architect that will probably go to college. There were some that were sitting here that when a community member who is an expert in irrigation came by, has his own company in irrigation, they were so instrumental in just putting the piping together on it. I would send them to intern with him because he said, you don't have to go to college to do this, but you do have to intern for at least 2 years with a license, certified. So he's telling them how to do it. And they're like, you don't have to go to college to do this? Like, I can just do this, right? But you do have to intern with someone who has a license. So that's a long answer to your question, and it's basically when they hit 8th grade and they're getting ready to go into 9th grade, there's so many paths that they can take. But we recommend, based on who we have observed the child to be over the years with us, a direction, and give the parents recommendations for various programs throughout the community that they can explore. And hopefully we'll have a high school by the time my 10-year-old gets 14, and we can just keep going with the work that we do. That's the goal.
Mm-hmm. You will.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, just keep growing. That's the key, right? Just keep growing and growing and growing. Next thing you know, you'll be in every state, every country. You know?
That's because wherever you go in this country, wherever you go in the West, and then once you go east of here, you have African communities.
Absolutely.
Like, with the projects that we do in terms of replicating a tree, that could have easily been a baobab tree on the continent. Next semester, they are building boats, like real boats that 3 of them can get in, and they were going to put it on the water, and they're going to have boat races. But we use that to talk about the ma'afa. We use that to talk about sailing and how Africans, Mansa Musa's family, his brother made his way over to the West before based on certain currents. So we use them building a boat to talk about Pan-Africanism and Marcus Garvey and the Black Star Line. So they will be building boats as they talk about all of those things with regards to boats. But we could take that same boat and take it to Mexico. And that same project still applies being spoken in Spanish. Take it to Brazil. And that same project still applies being spoken in Portuguese, because we have such similar experiences. So the idea and the vision for Roots to STEM curriculum is for people, African peoples throughout the diaspora, to have access to it, starting right here in Lauderhill, Florida, and extending outward. That's
Absolutely. That's great work. All right, well, she has announced herself already. Okay. Next question is from Diana. Diana, go ahead and ask your question, please.
I announced myself already. I'm sorry.
No, you
I didn't.
no, you unmuted and we see your name
Oh,
right across your screen.
I'm sorry, guys. My bad. Thank you, though. Hi, how are you? Hi, Lion. I just wanted to say you're amazing, and thank you for just existing. Your work is just, let me come back. So what I wanted to say to a lot of parents, and especially with the work I've done in the community for myself, is what that little boy was talking about is really what happens to our kids a lot. One of the things I used to teach our kids, my child particularly, is the fact that there's a file that has started with you since daycare that's going to precede you before you hit every grade you walk into. And what they write and proceed and have a colonize about, it's the effect that they have of you. You've already been in the classroom before you sat down. Now, what I love about you is because a lot of the times that we don't do is they go to our kids, but they don't actually question the curriculum in itself. Part of that and seeing this and hoping to even engage, like for example, something with my community in working as a Common Council member is I want to convert like an RV or an old bus into a mobile ceramic studio for the kids in our area. You know what I mean? Because of entrepreneurship. Literally almost like what you put on your wall. So I just want to say your existence is amazing. And hoping that you do end up getting to a high school because that's systematically ingrained. I know but what you just discussed, what that young boy just said, I really wanted to speak to, and even the first lady, that's just systematically ingrained for a child who's just, they haven't reached a potential for that child. So they're not engaged properly. That's why they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Because this isn't this child, but because he has locks and he's brown skin, he's supposed to be in a prison pipeline. They're not looking at, oh my God, we might be looking at our next philanthropist here or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just wanted to say, like, your existence is amazing. Your work is beautiful. Working from 3 to 6 is like our domain trying to get to, and you have the perfect age right there. And we hope we can get you around here or connect with you or we'll find your school. The collab will reach out or see you on this platform again. But it's just amazing. That's all I wanted to tell you. You're amazing. I love your crown. Hold it well. You're doing your thing.
Thank you.
That's all. That's it.
One of the things with the young man with crown is like he looks like he's not paying attention to you.
Oh, you just reminded me what I wanted to say.
When you're in class and you're teaching, and I was watching him just sitting there. He's going to look like he's not paying attention to you. If he has a piece of paper and
he wrote down every word you said.
No, he's actually drawing. He's a very good artist.
Oh.
So he's actually doodling and he's drawing, and you might go over to his pad and he hasn't written down anything you said. He might have made you into a cartoon on his paper because he draws that well, right? But then when I say, tell me the last thing I said.
So I love that you said, you just reminded me something that I skipped over. They did that to my daughter with math. So when she was in daycare, and luckily because I'm her mom, right? So we know, but they were like, she's great with numbers. But the one thing about her is she's observant. She kind of watches the room before she jumps in. It takes my daughter like a good, especially younger, she's getting better now, but it takes her like a good 2-3 months before she's really going to mess with any of you. She's just going to watch you. You know what I mean? But she got everything you said. She got everything you did. And they're like, she's extremely brilliant with numbers. To this in 11th grade, she's pre-calculus. She's excelled with numbers and particularly lets you do that. But it's funny because, or usually the kid that's running around or whatever, yeah, they know exactly what's going on. They're the most talented in the classroom. They're literally the most talented, but because it doesn't look like what you think a blue-eyed, blonde-haired talented kid should look like, here we go. But thank you for saying that because I forgot that part. But you're just beautiful. Everything around you is beautiful. I commend you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Diana. All right. There's one question from the chat. Let's see. Can I ask Cheryl how she came up with the curriculum at Question? How did you come up with your curriculum?
Okay, so like I said, I've taught in multiple different environments on purpose. If you look at my career resume, my curriculum vitae after leaving Stanford or what have you, you will see so many schools. And usually when an employee looks at that, they're like, oh, she's unstable. She's like, has been able to stay in one place for more than a school year. No, that was on purpose. I honestly left there saying, I'm going to build a school. I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to go look at all these other places that's already done it. And I'm going to take what works there, what works there. What I thought was going to work was this model called free schooling. Right? You hear the name, free schooling, right? So that model simply says that the child chooses what they're going to do with their day, and that you have as little structure around them as possible to get them in the in the mindset of making positive choices. So I found a free school in Albany, New York, the Albany Free School. I found a director, I wrote him, and I asked if I can come teach there, and he didn't have to pay me. I have taught in so many, I have done that in so many, you don't have to pay me, right? I just want to see what you do. I will be your teacher, don't even pay me. So I went there and I taught at the Albany Free School, and they had, it was predominantly European, but they did have some African children there. So I'm observing how this system of no classes, no structure, no one makes you do anything, you just choose what you're going to do. I thought that was going to be the way for us because we have been so over structuralized in the public school system, and sit here in a chair all day, and so I'm thinking that's going to work, right? Not for African children. It did not. It did not. They weren't. What I found was exactly what that poem says. You think that freedom is the ability to do whatever you want, and it is not. Freedom is shackling yourself to your identity, to knowing who you are and who you're not. So what they ended up doing is following behind all the other children, what all the other children were doing. When I tried to get them to sit down and play math games or reading games or just things that were going to enrich and feed their mind, they knew that the structure of the school was you can't tell them what to do. So that right there was like, it created a discord between adults and children, right, in the space where it almost is like equalizing them, because there's they get to vote. They get to vote on every year. At the end of the year, the children vote. They have one child, one vote on if the teacher gets to keep their job, on if certain structures in the school. So they try to practice democracy with them as well. So here you've given freedom to people who don't know how to define freedom and have never really practiced freedom inside of a structural identity of who they are. And it was a hot mess. It was a whole hot mess for our children, because they didn't know, they didn't have a foundation of information from which to make choices, from which to read, from how to do your math. How are you going to determine my salary and you can't even count, right? So I saw these other structures that were liberal, very liberal European structures that I thought, that's the answer, right? Not for African children, right? So instead of making them equal, in the sense that you can't tell me what to do, I get to talk to you like you talk to me, that's not African, right? Instead of separating them, where you're Mrs. Irvin and you're down here, and you gotta, because in public school a lot you'll see them separating themselves from the child in such a way that's like Kayla was saying, I got my education, you need to get your own education, and you need to respect me. So there's this disconnect there. That's not African either. So in this space, there's no Miss Irvin. They call me Mama Cheryl. The male teachers are Baba or Father. So now there is a difference, but there is one of love and respect there. And you have to greet me in a certain way, and I am going to greet you in a certain way. So I had to learn what's African. I didn't know. I had to learn. I delved into the Amos Wilsons and the Marlene Barudis and I had to learn. I had to learn Frantz Fanon. I had to learn. What does it look like to relate to myself in an African way? What does it look like to relate to a child in an African way? What does it look like to have them relate to me in an African way? And to relate to information in that way. I didn't know, but I didn't jump out in 1996 and ask for $2 million to put up a school either, because I knew I didn't know. I started teaching in 1996 knowing I was going to build a school, but I didn't open the first program until 2013. Right? And that was on purpose. Once I felt like, okay, I've read this, I've learned that, I've interned there. I have this gentleman from Ghana who's taught me a little bit, this gentleman from Ghana who's taught me a little bit of Swahili. And then I just put it all together, knowing that all of these pieces of how to be African and relate to children, adults, and information, and what it's meant to do for ourselves and our community, I just was able to package that in a particular way.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, last question. This is also from the chat. I think this is from Peggy. Let's see. My children are avid readers. What books might you recommend for them to read?
I don't know how old your children are. We read books that relate to the projects that we're doing. So the book that the children are reading now is The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, from every age, from Roger's age to the 10-year-old. They're all reading the novel, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. It is about an African boy who built a windmill out of trash to power the farming efforts in his community in Mali. So that is one of the books I have read with them, and they really enjoyed it. Amos Wilson's The Developmental Psychology of the Black Child. Just to know, just like bigger, better, faster, stronger. That's what he said. Bigger, better, faster, stronger. From birth to before they enter the system, we are bigger, better, faster, stronger. And him giving this like information that shows that. So it's like, this is who you are from the beginning. Let's try not to lose that. It's not a lot of like baby books that I read with them. And if it's too advanced for them, I will rewrite the story and put pictures to it and use language that they can understand. When we were doing the entrepreneurship project, all of them read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I made a cartoon book for the 3 and 4-year-olds. I take the books that I read, and if it doesn't exist in the form for a child, I taught myself how to use Photoshop, and I rewrite the book in a way that they can understand. So the answer to that question is take the books that have had the most impression upon you when you read it and you were like, mind blown, and give it to your child.
Fantastic. All right, real quick. So since we're nearing the end, I want you to share your information, because people are asking me for the information, but I don't have it in front of me right now.
You have everyone, did everyone have to leave their email address when they signed up on Eventbrite? Yes, so that they could get the link.
Yeah.
Right? Is it okay that I draft an email and send it to you, and then you forward it to your list?
Absolutely, you can do that. And then I'll send it along with a recording of this program.
Excellent. It says Pyramid Books. Is that Pyramid Books here in Akbar? How are you? That's Pyramid Books here in South Florida. How are you? Anyway.
Yeah. So that's
So he
perfect.
can tell you, like, I get a lot of, I will call him the Now Valley Civilization by Anthony Broder. That was the last set of books that I purchased from Pyramid Books, which is a Black-owned book company. If you want to get books, you don't have to go to Amazon. Akbar is right here, and he sends them out to you, and he's amazing over at Pyramid Books. So yeah, the last book that we got from him was Now Valley Civilization by Anthony Broder. And we used that and read that with the children as well. And we did, when you go to our Facebook page, you'll see a recreation. They did models where they recreated ancient Kemet alongside Washington, D.C., so that they could actually physically then see all the parallels that he talks about in the book. So, yeah. I'm sorry, I can talk about this all day.
Yeah, me too. Good
Yes,
stuff. Good stuff. All right. So we're at the end of our program. So first, let me say thank you, Sister Cheryl, for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule, I'm sure, with the children and blessing us with sharing your work and everything that you're doing. Everyone here is happy that like Sister Diana said, that you exist, right? And you're doing this type of work. Is very encouraging. So stay strong. You have a whole community over here behind you, as well as the community, in your location in Florida. We support you. We love you, and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
Indeed. So, okay, so to take us off of this session and to give us the last word, I pass it over to Professor Bayyinah Bello.
Thank you, friends. Well, there is really nothing else to say except to remind us that as Sister Cheryl works with the children, preparing them for tomorrow, we, my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, have to keep up with our young people. So we have to educate ourselves as well, so that the children will not find themselves in situation of, school is one thing, and then when I go to grandma, then everything is upside down.
Yeah.
They have to find a support no matter where they go. And that's where books are so important. So sharing the titles, sharing the books that we read that make us grow. So the more of us read the same book, the more like-minded we will be. So do the work, walk the walk. We are at war. That's the reality of the day that we're living in. So we must go in peace, but well prepared to defend truth everywhere, in every way, in every situation. We must always be attentive. We must be prepared. There is no such thing I'm too old to. If you're here, there is something you have to do. And one of them, you have duty, care for your body properly, do exercise, do keep yourself in shape as much as possible. Most of all, transmit to the next generation so that the power stays in the family and is transmitted from generation to generation. We work preparing for the next 21 generations. We're not working for tomorrow.
Right.
We're working for 21 generations ahead. Be blessed, be powerful, be you. Accept your divine self. Thank you.
Ashe.
Thank you so much. Ashe.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another session of Bayyinah and Friends, and we will catch you next Thursday. So peace and blessings. Everyone have a great weekend.
Go ahead.
Bye.
Good
Ashe.
care.
Hotep.
Ashe.
Beautiful as
Bye,
always.
Ashe.
Okay, richest
Bye. Thank
blessings. Love
you.
everybody.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Oh my God, wow.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Love. Until next week. And look out for the information I'll be sending out on Sister Cheryl Irvin.
Thank you. Take good care. Be you. Be powerful.
Hotep.